What's up, everybody? I am here to give you an honest review of the Nintendo Switch. I played the Nintendo Switch for about 12 hours last night. I played some pubs and I did some ranked and wanted to give you kind of the lowdown of what I thought about Apex Legends on the Switch. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Say hello to Xena, our new puppy. You can see her at the bottom of the screen. Appreciate y'all for the love. If you don't mind, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, make sure to comment on the video. That'd be awesome. Share it with anybody you think that would find it helpful. And also, so if you're a content creator looking for copyright-free music, lo-fi beats, we have about 50 beats out. If you search up WTF Bear 52 on any streaming platform, we have 3 albums out: Rainforest Jukebox, Sunshine Casino, and Polar Playground. So if you are interested in that, please look that up. I'm gonna link it in the description below. And if you're interested in watching me stream live, I'll be doing solo to pred on Switch for the remainder of the split. So if you're interested in that, make sure to follow. Also, link in the description below. To get into the review for the Switch, the first thing that pops out, and it's going to pop out for anybody that's switching over from console or switching over from PC, are the frames. That's what everybody's going to be talking about. That's what all the memes are going to be about. It's what the tweets are going to be about. It's going to be about the frames. The one thing that I'm going to premise this is, you got to understand that this is a handheld console and it's meant to be on the go first and then docked and put on a TV or a monitor second. So it doesn't have the processing power of an Xbox, a PS4, or a PC. So you got to keep that in mind when you're talking about the frames. So frames per second just means how fast things are refreshing and how fast we can see them on the screen for any console. And for the Switch, it's capped out at 30 frames per second. And in comparison, PlayStation, Xbox capped at 60 frames per second. PC, you can overclock it above 165 frames per second. A lot of people cap it at 165 frames per second, even less, 144 frames per second. So it's about a fifth of what you get on PC and half of what you get on a console. So it's gonna pop out at you. I did enjoy overall my experience on the Switch. Love that it's a handheld console. Love that I can take it with me. When it's played on a monitor, it's not the best gaming experience. So if you're planning on playing on TV, do not your expectations shouldn't be super high in terms of quality and gaming experience. That's one thing that did jump out at me when I'm trying to play it on the dock. It does have a lot of frame drops. It has a lot of disconnects. It's very buggy right now. It is ported from Panic Button, so it's not ported directly from Respawn. So that probably has something to do with the crashes, the bugs, frame drops, kind of the overall playability over the monitor. Obviously, over time, hopefully that stuff gets better. But this is a game that requires a lot of processing power, and it's not going to be that smooth when you put it on there. So frames, you're gonna hear it a lot. It's the biggest thing. And when I'm talking about frames on a scale from 1 to 10, PC being 10 at 165 frames per second, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. The gaming experience with the frames, overall, it was a 3 out of 10 when playing on a monitor. Next thing that I want to talk about is just overall setup. So very easy, free download. Takes about an hour to download, so a little bit slower. I'm not sure if it's just the Nintendo Switch that doesn't grab all of the upload and download speed from your internet service provider. But overall, I mean, it didn't take that much time, about an hour, probably roughly about the same time if you have decent internet and you're downloading it on Xbox or PS4. Obviously, PC's on a different level. The Switch, really easy to get online, really easy to download. In terms of using the Joy-Cons when you're playing portable, I do not recommend that. Overall, the experience with the Joy-Cons, it's going to be rough on your hands. Your hands are going to get tired. Your thumbs are going to get probably bruised a little bit, or it's going to be hard to do the movement that you need to in Apex. Apex is a lot about movement, so it's going to be really hard if you're using the Joy-Cons, even if you have the adapter to make it feel like a controller. I recommend getting some sort of Pro controller or a wired controller for the input lag, to decrease the input lag, because if you are not wired into your Switch, or if you have to have a secondary cable to wire into your controller, which I do with the Pro controller, then it has a little bit more input lag than if you were hard-coded with a wired controller. So I recommend a wired controller. If you have a Pro controller, wire it into your Nintendo Switch. If you can't, then you're gonna just realize that you have some input lag when you're playing wirelessly with the Switch docked, or standing on a table or something like that. But overall, very easy, very seamless, free download, free to play, in all sense of the word. Apex did a really good job of giving free packs and free limited edition skins. Really cool pack skin that they gave out. I think that with, along with the free packs that you get signing up for Apex for the first time on Switch, was very, very good experience overall. So, I got some skins. Overall had a very good experience getting onboarded, getting set up on Apex Legends for the Switch. So I would give that probably a 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Very comparable to PS4 because it's free. Xbox, you don't have to, Xbox, you have to pay. You don't have to pay on Switch. So very good overall experience doing that. And the last thing that I want to talk about is just kind of the handheld edition. So playing a little bit of the handheld, it was very good. So it looks a lot cleaner handheld wise. So the gaming experience does go up there. I know that the use case for that, and I'll talk about this in a later video, there are some settings that you need to adjust to so that you are maximizing your ability to compete on the Switch against other players. I think the overall playability, if you're playing with just Switch players, is great. So that means that, when I'm playing against a Switch player, going up against a Switch player, I never felt like I was at a disadvantage because we both are playing on the same frames. We both have the same console or controller or something like that, where I didn't feel like I was at a huge disadvantage. When I was going up against console players, when I had cross-platform turned on and I was doing some ranked, the playability, at least my experience, went down just because I know on my screen I'm, limited with the settings and the frames and the bugs compared to the console players who have a lot more processing power. So I'm dying a lot more. I'm not winning a lot of gunfights. It's harder to keep up with those players that are on console. So I do not recommend, I don't recommend you playing with a PC player and loading into lobbies with players who have 165 frames per second. And two, definitely recommend adjusting your settings so you don't get into some console lobbies. And I'll talk more in depth of how to do that in a later video. But playability, if you're just talking about Switch to Switch players, very good, very, very much the same as any other console you'll find. Especially for beginners, if you're starting out, I think I recommend definitely starting now. Now is the time. If you ever want to get an Apex Legends and you want to get a Switch, it's a very beginner-friendly console. So you want to take advantage of that at this point. It's very early on. It might get a little bit more competitive. I don't know how competitive it'll be on the Switch, but you want to start now so that you can kind of grasp the basics on Apex Legends, how to move with your controller and what you have. But overall, playability, very good. I'd give it a 7 out of 10 for playability. Just when you're playing against Switch players, it goes down probably to a 5 out of 10 when you're playing against console players. It does not feel great to get beamed because you have less frames per second. So that's something to keep in mind. But overall, honest review, I would give this a 7 out of 10. The onboarding experience is very seamless. Playability, kind of going up against similar opponents, very good. The bugs, the frames, I hope they find a way to keep it at 30 frames per second as long as possible. I don't know how that works on their end, but it does drop. You can feel the drop go down maybe 20, 15 frames per second, which is a huge blow. If they do want to keep this afloat on the Switch, if they do want to keep their players happy, they have to figure out a way to either minimize the graphics in game so that it's not processing them all, so that you keep that 30 frames per second at all times, even when there's a lot of going on. And then the other thing is being able to have more flexibility with your settings. So hopefully that changes along the way too. And I think once they get there, it'll be higher. I give it a 7 out of 10, just based on overall, experience, getting free packs, free skins, very easy to set up. and feeling like this is a way for a lot of people to start learning first-person shooters. Hopefully that helps in your decision in deciding whether to go from console to Switch or start playing Apex Legends for the first time on the Switch. I do recommend playing Apex Legends. I've been playing since season 1, and I loved every single second of it. No other game that I think that I would be playing right now. And if you have any questions, follow me on Instagram, DM me on Twitter. Anything you'd like to know, follow me on Twitch. Please send those questions. Happy to answer them. Appreciate you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.